PlayStation。
Hello everybody, we are back with the HFC Sonython, and it is the final game of today, and it's quite a good one. We got Soul Blade, also known as Soul Edge, depending on what side of the country that you're on. And joining me today is Nat and Sparanda. Say hello.
Hi guys.
Hey, nice. And one thing that Soul Blade / Edge is known for is by having the most hype intro in the goddamn universe. Mostly just due to the music. I think this will be a theme song that will go down in history as being one of the best. So, my history with the Souls series has been fairly decorated, I would say. Obviously, I started out with this game, and then moved on to Soul Calibur 2, 3, and 4. So the only ones I've never actually had the chance to play are 1 and 5. Apparently 5 wasn't even that good, so apparently I'm not missing much on that one. What about with you two? What's your history with this series?
Well, I played 2 on the Gamecube. Link represent.
Oh yes, same here.
And I remember loving Soul Calibur 3, especially the actual story mode they had in it. Going back to it now, it's pretty awful. Because the story mode kind of becomes a little bit of real-time strategy with the Soul Calibur fights mixed in. And the level curve is just absolutely awful. You have to grind so much to actually be able to beat the enemies you need to.
Sounds rough.
But this game I never actually played, although I remember seeing a lot about it on G4 TV back when that was a thing.
Ah, very nice. And what about you, Nat? What's your experience with this here series?
My first experience was when my brother bought it for the PlayStation 2, and I used to just play the shit out of that. And then I played a little bit of Soul Calibur 4, but I always go back to Soul Calibur 2, especially the Weapon Master mode. And Talim, best girl.
Yep, she's certainly up there. Alright, so what we're going to do for this is we're going to play through the said Edgemaster mode, which is the game's quote-unquote story mode, where you travel the world in search for the Sword of Legend, that being the Soul Edge. And apparently it grants the powers to basically do whatever the hell you want. There's nothing really specific about it. But it's kind of evil, and not many people seem to take the hint, considering it's a red sword with eyeballs all over the goddamn place.
Yeah, everyone's just kind of searching for it, and it's like, guys, did you take, like, Hero 101 class or whatever? This thing's obviously bad. Don't go for it.
Like, it's obvious that it's not going to be what you think it is. And it's just going to either take you over, or just you're going to die pretty much immediately after picking it up. Alrighty then. So the story with Siegfried is that he is seeking to avenge his father, and he's going to look into doing that by getting the sword to slay his murderer. So the idea is that rather than just fighting his murderer and just using any old sword, it has to be with this specific sword for some reason.
Just has to be with the greatest of swords.
The Sword of Legend! So this is a arena-based kind of dealer, similar to Tekken. But unlike Tekken, your block button is... You actually have to press a button specifically to block, which is kind of annoying if you're used to the idea of pressing back and block, especially.
I much prefer having a dedicated button.
Really? Because even with Mortal Kombat, I always found it a bit too unwieldy.
Oh, I mean, in fighting games, I never block anyway, so that doesn't matter.
Yeah, I don't block. Like, I probably should, but it's just like, nah, too much effort.
In action games like Metal Gear Rising or whatever, I would prefer to have a dedicated block button. In fighting games, I basically never block.
Of course. So the first battle is a fairly even fair. It's a one-on-one. But here's where things start to get a little bit crazier, because you only have one stock, and you have to fight 3 people. And that's not entirely fair, is it? I mean, you don't have to be a genius to figure out that 3-on-1, that just ain't on.
Is it all at the same time, or one after the other?
One after the other, so it kind of plays similar to survival mode. Where you get a little bit of health back after each round, but otherwise you gotta go through each of these in rapid succession. If you lose once, you gotta do the whole lot over again.
I mean, that's not terrible. It could be all three at once.
True, but then again, you could also... You're just left in a situation where you get to the end, die, and then you have to do the other two all over again.
I'm getting flashbacks to like some of the missions that you have to do in like the Weapon Master mode in Soul Calibur 2. There's like one where you have to like fight as Lizard Man, and you have to fight like 3 people. And I wasn't exactly used to the moveset. And so many times I managed to fight the first 2 people, and then die on the third one, and the third person only had like a tiny bit of health left, and then it's just like, why not have to do all this again?
Luckily, Siegfried's pretty damn good, because even though he's a little bit cumbersome, he can generally kill people in a couple of combos if you could land a solid hit in.
Well, it seems like the health bars are much shorter than the ones that I've played.
Oh yeah, you don't really get much health in this game at all, just in general.
And Reflexor in the chat is asking how you win a fighting game without blocking. By attacking more than the other guy.
Yeah.
You see that thing on the control with all the buttons on there? Just roll your face over it for a while and maybe you'll win.
Also keeping in mind that, like, the fighting games that I play are Naruto and Smash, so not exactly the best examples of fighting games.
Nope.
Plus, I just play games to have fun, and not, so... I mean, I probably should learn to block, but it's just not really something that I'm good at. And as they say, offense is the best defense.
If you win without blocking, why bother changing?
Mm-hmm.
Alright, so this is where the Weapon Master, Edge Master mode gets a little bit trickier. Because you have to win 4 fights this time, and they're all quite challenging.
Oh, wow.
So this might take a little while, but I have prepared for that. So it's all good. I think it's this one and Voldo that usually give me the most trouble.
Oh, I hate Voldo with a passion.
Well, try facing Voldo where basically if you take one single hit, you're dead.
Do not want.
Voldo's always been one of the most annoying characters to fight.
Yeah, he's basically the Eddie Gordo of Soul Blade. Just that one, you got that one guy who just picks Voldo and just spams all the buttons and he just scuttles around all over the place. Somehow still beating you even though you've tried to spend all this time trying to work out combos and all that lark.
In Soul Calibur 3, for me, that was Maxi.
Oh yeah, Maxi's a bit like that too.
I couldn't beat Maxi because he's so fucking fast.
Yeah, Maxi was very much that guy as well.
I think, like, there's a character in Soul Calibur 2, it's called Assassin. And you basically, once you let him get started with a combo, you're fucked.
Yeah.
You can't stop, like, because the other those characters, once they get going with a combo, there's nothing you can do.
Pretty much. It's pretty damn ruthless. Ah! Get out of the arena. Although it's not over yet, we still got to take on 3 other opponents.
So while we're doing these fights, we actually got a donation between games. If you'd like to read that out, Matt.
Yeah, I may as well read it out again because...
Obviously, we are doing a bit of a retake here since the game crashed when I tried to do this the first time.
Spar here donated for a pub champ run of Twisted Metal's 2 Spinal Boss. Good job, Falk.
Thank you very much. That actually went by a lot better than I was expecting it to, especially defeating Dark 2 first try. That gave me tons of trouble in practice.
I was amazed at how fast the final form went.
Yeah, he kind of just stood in one place and didn't really do anything else, which is unusual for Darktooth, especially in that form. He tends to like to
It's
get
like-
all up in your grill, and it's just he never leaves you alone after that.
It's like the reverse of the streamer's curse.
Yeah, true that. Well, then again, if he's going to keep doing that for the rest of my runs, I'm perfectly fine with that. Then again, the only one I'm really dreading is Zone of the Enders 2. I think once I get past that, it's pretty much smooth sailing.
Mm-hmm. Anything you're worried about in FF7?
Not particularly. It's more making sure I've left myself enough time, so that's the only other thing I'm worried about with that one. But if it takes a little bit longer than usual, then, you know, I've already got means and ways to prepare for that, so it's fine. I'm not so worried about that one. I played it through so many times, I have a really good idea of what to do.
Never actually seen that game all the way through.
Oh, well, there you go. Hopefully the Sonython will be the first for you.
Well, I will be watching it all the way through for a little secret that we have prepared. But I'm sure that'll be announced at some point eventually.
That it shall, that it shall. Don't want to reveal anything too soon, though.
So it looks like Siegfried's a lot about vertical attacks.
Yeah, he has some horizontal swings as well, but they're a little bit on the sluggish side, and they could just duck. The vertical swings they can't duck from, and the AI tends to duck a lot more than sidestep, so you can take advantage of the AI in that respect.
It seems like the AI changes whether or not they want to duck or sidestep more often.
Yeah, they do. They like to throw curveballs at you.
And here's my favorite character, Sung Mina.
Yep. Unfortunately, she comes and
Two
goes
guesses
pretty
why.
quickly.
Just anything with boobs you like. Like,
Now
Didn't
got
say
it all
anything.
over again. Alright, good news. You get to see Sung Mina again.
okay, I might be going a bit too far with that.
No, Sung Mina was like the only character that I actually learned how to play rather than just button mashing. Other than like the created character in 3, but that doesn't really count too much. And of course Link in 2, but I also don't count that either.
Oh, Link was so good in that game.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that he actually kept all his cool stuff intact as well was even better.
So Siegfried has a weird stance change system.
In Soul Calibur 5 he does, yeah.
There's a bit of that in
Okay.
2, if I recall.
Yeah,
He has stances at least, but they just weren't really a big part of his
playstyle.
set, I guess.
Yeah, because I think Ivy had stance changes in Soul Calibur 2, because you can have it where she has her weapon in whip mode or sword mode.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, you got that as well. I think Ivy was like the first true stance swapper.
Mitsurugi had some as well, but I could never really figure his out. Mitsurugi was another one of my favorites that I liked playing, but didn't really understand that well. Mostly because that was around the time where I was getting really interested in watching Rurouni Kenshin on Toonami. And I think Samurai Jack was probably on back then as well.
I reckon he was, yeah.
I remember actually arguing with one of my friends because I was a fan of Rurouni Kenshin and he was a fan of Samurai Jack, and we argued over which one would win in a fight. This was like before internet forums were really popular. We were the early fanboys.
Of course. Oh, son of a bitch. It doesn't seem to matter, like, the power character in this game doesn't seem that less powerful than the other guys. Like, Mitsurugi can kick your ass pretty quickly if you're not careful. Just gotta adjust myself here. There we go.
Foretold Legends just pointed something out. You're actually losing HP when you attack.
Yeah, but the trade-off is that this sword is actually a lot more powerful. And if you're getting killed in a couple of combos anyway, it's really of little consequence.
That's fair enough, yeah.
I wonder if it's because it takes stamina to wield a sword that size. So you get tired out.
No, it's the
That's
whole
probably
thing with the
color.
Grim Blade itself. It slowly saps away your stamina, but like I said, if you're getting killed in a couple of combos anyway, then, you know, there's no use worrying about that. You may as well just take the extra power and roll with it.
Yeah, I was going to say, judging by the color, it's more likely it's cursed or something along those lines. especially the way the weapons in these games work. I remember a lot of the unique weapons. Well, I won't say unique, but the different weapons you could use in 2 and 3. Some of them would have like life drain effects on you or things like that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Especially all the different versions of the Soul Edge that you can
Oh
use.
yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm. So I think wasn't there like a weapon that Talon can use, like where she's like one blade is like standard size, but then she has like this massive blade as well.
I seem to remember something like that too, but it's not vivid enough to really know for sure.
Nice win.
Yay! Finally got there. Like I said, that's probably one of the more problematic ones. The next one is usually Voldo, so hopefully we'll be alright for a while. Alright, let's go ahead and save. And now we get a 1-on-1 with Rock, where the snag this time around is that you are draining your strength in this one as well. So we're getting double strength drain here, but as I said before, if you're dying in 2 combos anyway, it's fine.
Mm-hmm.
So let's see how this goes. Luckily you only have to defeat one of him, so it's fine.
Yeah. Does he have more HP than what he was in the last fight?
I think he might well do, but I don't know for sure. Son of a bitch. Son of a bitch!
Oh, it saps your health, but not his.
Yep. It's to do with the land. It's like, apparently the Triumph drains your health. It's just like, what? What kind of nonsense is that?
Okay.
Like, evil swords I can believe, but your strength is being drained due to Triumph of all things.
Maybe the enemy's triumph?
Just like Bill and Ted mode. Most triumphant! And then you just slowly die inside.
I can agree with that, Madame. He's saying, or she, I don't know. Probably Madam, would mean girl. Only problem they have with Rurouni Kenshin is Season 2 is the only part of the show with real meat to it. And I agree with that. Nat and I actually watched through that within the past year or so, and quite a lot of the first season is build up and filler.
Well, around that time I was watching Tenchi Muyo and Yu Yu Hakusho around that time.
Mm-hmm. I watched those as well.
Oh, Yu Yu Hakusho. That was great. I love that show.
Yeah.
I just love that you could just prod people out the arena and they just go flying. Just poke. Ah!
Shmadam is actually a guy. Good to know.
Yep, and Rock is officially dead, according to this guy's story. So that may be why he hasn't appeared again since. Siegfried literally killed him.
I mean, it wouldn't be surprising for him to be brought back to life in this series.
True.
Could see that being done.
Yep, I think the Cow Ankana, which is the weapon I was talking about, that Talon, one of the weapons that Talon can wield, which like one of the blades is huge. It drains health constantly. And the explanation for that is because it takes stamina to actually swing like a big blaze.
Oh, that was close.
Yeah, the idea behind that fight is that you literally only have 12 seconds to defeat your opponent, or else you automatically lose.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that one's pretty tough. This next one has a bit of a weird stipulation as well, wherein you have to fight Lei Long using only throwing techniques. Everything else you do will not harm him. So you literally have to defeat him using only throws.
Okay.
So this one's a bit tricky. Although luckily Siegfried has a really decent throwing move that does about half their health.
I got a little confused because I thought throwing techniques meant you threw something at him. I was like, Siegfried doesn't have any of those. No. Most of the characters in this game don't have any of those.
No, throwing a giant sword like that would be a bit difficult.
Must be hard to aim, wouldn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Like, would you be like?
You have to like shot put it.
Mm-hmm.
Just like spin around and let it fly and hope it hits them.
And just watch it go in the wrong direction and kill some innocent bystander. Just someone who just happens to be walking by. And you know, like they just stop walking the dog or something and then they get impaled by a sword.
Yeah, this one's a bit tricky just because the whole fact you can't damage him with anything other than throws means all he has to do is basically duck, and that's it. I believe ring-outs don't count. I think they even thought of that much as well. I think he's actually immune to being rung out. Like, he'll just stop in midair if you try. There you go, that's what you have to do. Just do that twice, and you've pretty much won. Of course, you can still get rung out, which can be a bit of a problem.
So do his normal attacks still hurt you? Yes,
they do.
Okay.
There we go, got him. Usually a good way to get a good throw in is if you can try and get a couple of sword swings in there, you can parry him. And then if you sidestep into him, you can usually land a throw there if they don't take out of it. And there we go, we can finally replace our sword. So we now have the hard steel blade. So now we get to the Voldo fight, and this is where things start to get a little bit stupid. Because, you know, not only do you have to deal with Voldo, but if you get hit once, you're dead. So you pretty much have to go in with your best combo pretty much from the get-go. You will probably die a lot here, just to dispel any illusions there. But I think we're making decent time anyway, so it's all good. We have enough time for Voldo.
Is there a reason you didn't try to use the other swords that were available?
They're just not nearly as good. They don't really offer much. Like, some say they increase your swing speed, but it's very hard to notice apart from the bottom one. And it kind of dismisses what Siegfried's strength is, which is just big, meaty hits.
Yeah.
So I go with the hard steel blade because it's a good all-rounder.
Fair enough. I just noticed that you picked up the 7-pronged sword in Japan, and as I mentioned previously in the marathon, I'm a sucker for Japanese mythology.
Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, it's just not nearly as good as the other weapons in the game.
First round went well.
Yep. Well, this is where things can go pear-shaped. Just like that. You think you have him, but he just pokes you once and you're dead.
I'm having like freaking flashbacks.
Yeah.
Like non-flashbacks right now. That's one of the characters that whenever I actually manage to beat him in Soul Calibur, like in arcade mode or something, I just still beat the shit out of him despite the fact that I've already won, because you have like about at least 5 seconds where you can just wail on the person despite them losing.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I love doing that in 2 and 3, especially if you could knock them in the air and like juggle them for a while, and Voldo just fucked you up that round. Holy
he really
shit.
did.
Get out of my house.
There we go. Luckily, you do get a small amount of health back for the second fight. Unfortunately, the second Voldo is a lot more healthier. He doesn't go down in nearly as fewer hits.
Mm-hmm.
I think it has partly to do with the weapons they use, since they both use different weapons.
Ah, that's a good point, actually. I was going to make a joke and say he had a stronger gimp suit, but that makes sense.
Jumped over that sweep. I feel pretty good about that. Alright, here we go. Second Voldo again. Ah, son of a bitch. Someone apparently almost typed Volko. No, I don't want to be associated with this thing. Not even as a joke. There are some things I want to be in life. Voldo is definitely not one of them.
It's like, what the heck is Voldo anyway? Like,
somebody who's a little bit too into BDSM. Although his origins have always been a bit of a mystery to me. I never quite got what Voldo's deal was.
I let me see if I can look it up because
Please do. I'd be interested to find out.
I want to say he was like a
Got him!
guardian for something. Nicely done.
The Voldo duo have been taken care of, which just leaves Cervantes and Soul Edge itself.
let's see.
Fun fact, only minorly related to this. I took a Spanish class in high school, and we got a opportunity to choose what name we wanted to use. If we wanted a name that was more Spanish than ours, and I chose Cervantes for my name because I thought it was cool.
Fair enough.
I just thought I'd share that.
Yeah, fair enough. There you go, Cervantes de Leon. Age 48, but is otherwise immortal. Born January 1st, and is the immortal pirate. Cervantes is pretty legendary.
Mm-hmm.
Alright, so this guy isn't nearly as much of a ball ache as Voldo, but he can still give you some trouble.
So Voldo was the right-hand man of an Italian weapons merchant called Verci. He was also known as the Merchant of Death.
Huh. So is there any reason why he just suddenly turned into this weird dude who just like spindles around all over the place on his back like he's someone... like he's fucking Bray Wyatt or something?
Let's see. And his Verci decided Soul Edge to form part of his collection of rare weapons, and Voldo was basically the head of the expedition for the search.
So, would it mean that in theory the reason why the way he is because being in close proximity to it drove him insane, perhaps? Like, I'm probably drawing at blanks here, but that would be my best guess.
I feel like that's what happened to a lot of the characters.
I'm reading for it now. I think an Italian war broke out in Italy, and the merchant's possessions were the first targets. So he moved this fleet and all his possessions onto an uninhabited island off the coast of Sicily and dug a 50-foot deep shaft that will serve as his tomb and vault. And Voldo was later instructed to slay the sailors that helped in the construction so that the location of the money pit is what it was later to be called. So, you know, the location of it wouldn't be revealed. And then he shut himself in the place with his deceased master.
Oh, interesting.
So I was kind of right in saying that he was a guardian of something, I think.
Mm-hmm.
One of the many places that Soul Edge has been hidden throughout the series, I suppose.
Indeed. Hey, there we go, got him.
Nicely done.
Like I said, not nearly as much of a ball ache as Voldo. Voldo, you just kind of have to beat your head against the wall until it falls.
I never had such an
Always hated the you die in one hit, win kind of fighting game things.
The fact you have infinite continues is really no excuse.
Yeah.
Alright, so this is how Siegfried canonically would become the beast known as Nightmare later on. So he takes the Soul Edge, and lo and behold, it's an evil sword that's going to start sapping away at his free will. Take pity on poor Sieg, for he screams in agony, but vain are his screams, for no one can hear. Now peace has returned to this land. Harvests are plentiful, and sounds of life now fill the air. So brief be the solitude, for evil is back. So he's assumedly wielding his old sword and obviously the Soul Edge. No, wait, that must just be the Soul Edge, because I don't think the Soul Edge started taking on the form of other people's weapons until Soul Calibur, at least.
Yeah.
So there you go, that is Edgemaster mode. You've got quite a few things you can do here. You can obviously go through some of the missions again, you can try out another person. Unlock all the swords if you so desire. Like, that's a thing you could do, just start a collection. You know, put them on your wall somewhere. But yeah, it's good, solid fun. It's a good way to kind of break out the monotony that is the typical fighting game arcade mode, especially the ones that don't offer, like, obscene difficulty, like with Guilty Gear, for instance.
Does the Edge Master mode change depending on who you play as?
It does ever so slightly, yeah. I think you still get the same amount of missions, but obviously the missions and the nature of them change depending on who you're actually playing as. So not everyone will have to do the double Voldo fight with only like a sliver of health.
Okay.
But yeah, this wasn't intended to be a very long one at all. I mean, it was pretty much just going to be Edge Master. I just pick a dude and see how far I can get, and yeah, did pretty well in the end. So very happy with that. Pretty much within my estimates there, which is great seeing as Twisted Metal 2 did end up going slightly over, so very happy with that. But yeah, I will have to agree with you there. That 7-branch sword does look kind of badass. I just wish it was better. But there are some really cool weapons in the game that are obviously pretty damn great, so you got that working in your favor as well. But yeah, that was Soul Blade, and that will do for day 8 of the HFC Sonython. We'll be back again tomorrow, where, correct me if I'm wrong on this, but I believe we have Zone of the Enders 2, and I believe we have PlayStation All-Stars Battle Royale.
That would be correct, yes.
Hell yeah, I actually remember the schedule correctly. Bang on. But that'll do for us for today. Thank you very much, Spyro and Nat, for joining me on this brief excursion into the realm of Soul Edge / Soul Blade.
Thanks for having us on.
Yeah.
Excellent. And we'll be back tomorrow with more Sonython action, and it will be me playing Zone of the Enders 2. So hopefully you all tune in for that. But until that time, thank you for tuning in, and have a wonderful night.
Good night, everyone.
Night, guys.